Welcome to Lurking Shadows, where the darkness whispers and the unknown awaits. Dive into tales of terror that will haunt your dreams. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell to join the shadows. Stay brave, if you dare. It was a quiet Friday night, and I was home alone. My parents were out of town for the weekend, and I had the house to myself. I was curled up on the couch, wrapped in a blanket, watching a movie. The house was silent except for the faint hum of the TV. But then, I heard it. A faint knock at the front door. I paused the movie and listened. The knock came again, louder this time. My heart started to race. I wasn't expecting anyone, and it was past 10 p.m. I crept to the door, my footsteps echoing in the empty house, and peered through the peephole. No one was there. I told myself it was just the wind or a neighborhood kid playing a prank. But as I turned to go back to the couch, I heard a sound that made my blood run cold, the distinct sound of glass breaking upstairs. My mind raced. Someone was in the house. I grabbed my phone and dialed 911, but the call wouldn't go through. The signal was dead. I could hear footsteps now, heavy and deliberate, moving down the hallway toward the stairs. My breath quickened, and I froze, unsure whether to hide or run. That's when the lights went out. The house plunged into darkness, and I stumbled, trying to find my way. The footsteps grew closer, and I could hear breathing, low and ragged, like the person was excited. I ducked into the pantry and held my breath, praying he wouldn't find me. But he did. The door flew open, and a man stood there, his face hidden in shadow. Before I could scream, he grabbed me, his hand clamping over my mouth. I struggled, but he was too strong. He dragged me out of the house and into a waiting van. The last thing I remember is the sound of the engine starting and the man's voice whispering in my ear, "You're mine now." When I woke up, I was in a dark, damp room. The walls were covered in scratches, and the air smelled like mold and decay. I wasn't the first person he'd taken, and if I didn't find a way out, I wouldn't be the last. I had always thought my house was haunted. Little things would happen. Doors slamming shut, whispers in empty rooms, the feeling of being watched. But I never expected what happened that night. I was home alone, sitting at the kitchen table, when I heard a noise from upstairs. It sounded like someone dragging their feet across the floor. I called out, thinking maybe my roommate had come home early, but there was no answer. I grabbed a flashlight and went to investigate. The hallway was dark, and the air felt heavy, like it was pressing down on me. As I reached the top of the stairs, I saw it, a shadowy figure standing at the end of the hall. My breath caught in my throat. The figure was tall and thin, with no distinct features, just a black silhouette against the wall. It didn't move, but I could feel its presence, cold and menacing. I backed away, my heart pounding, but the shadow began to move. It glided toward me, silent and slow. I turned and ran, but the stairs were gone. The hallway stretched on endlessly, the shadow closing in behind me. I woke up screaming, drenched in sweat. It had been a dream, or so I thought. But as I looked around my room, I noticed something on the wall. A handprint, black and smudged, right next to my bed. And from the hallway, I heard the sound of dragging feet. I grabbed my phone and called a friend, too scared to stay alone. But as I waited for them to arrive, the shadow returned. This time, it wasn't just in the hallway. It was in my room, standing at the foot of my bed. Its voice was a low, guttural whisper. "You can't escape me." I was home alone, working late on my laptop, when I heard a noise outside. It sounded like someone walking through the bushes near the living room window. I tried to ignore it, telling myself it was just a raccoon or the wind. But then I saw it. A face, pale and expressionless, pressed against the glass. Its eyes were wide and unblinking, staring straight at me. I screamed and jumped back, knocking over my chair. When I looked again, the face was gone. I called the police, but they found nothing. No footprints, no signs of forced entry. They suggested it might have been a prank, but I knew better. That face wasn't human. The next night, I made sure all the doors and windows were locked. I was sitting in bed, trying to calm my nerves, when I heard a tapping sound. It was coming from the window above my bed. I didn't want to look, but I couldn't help myself. Slowly, I turned my head. The face was back. This time, it was closer, its features more distinct. Its skin was gray and cracked, its mouth stretched into a grotesque smile. It tapped on the glass again, its long, bony fingers leaving smudges on the pane. I grabbed my phone and dialed 911, but the call wouldn't go through. The face tilted its head, as if amused by my fear. Then it spoke, its voice a low, guttural growl. "Let me in." I slammed the curtains shut and hid under the covers, praying for morning to come. But when I finally worked up the courage to look outside, I saw something that made my blood run cold. The window was open, and the face was gone. I moved out of that house the next day, but I still see it sometimes, in my dreams, in the corner of my eye, or reflected in a window. It's always watching, always waiting, and one day, it will find me again.